You want to change my pay from salary to production goals for 2 weeks? Fine by me. A bit of background. I worked for a really small company straight out of undergrad with about 3 employees and the owner. My degree was in engineering, but I wound up doing procurement, fabrication, welding, machining, shop management, site management, safety, etc. on top of my engineering duties. Overworked and undervalued. I will say that it was good experience for the rest of my career. Side note to you prospective engineers. An engineering degree is among the few where grades in college do matter and significantly affect your prospects for your first job. I chose to not focus entirely on my studies and paid the price with this shitty job for 3 years. Onto the compliance. A big part of this job would be that I was out of town on a job site anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks a few times a year. Toward the end of my time with this company, the fact that I knew I was leaving soon, got a business graduate degree now, really empowered me to not back down on a lot of things. Around this time, my first child was on the way and sure enough, a job was scheduled near the due date. The owner, while he had a lot of shortcomings, understood when I told him I would not be going. However, he refused to keep me on my regular salary while they were gone. There was plenty of work to be done, so it wouldn't have been a vacation. He instead insisted he would pay me on how many units of a certain Part 1 produced while they were gone. Inventory was low and we actually did need the parts. Fine by me if that's how you want to play it. For the 2 weeks they were gone, I only came in about 4 hours a day 4 days a week and busted out a ton of these parts. Ended up costing him a substantial bit more to pay me his way, and a lot of other things that I did for the company were put on hold during those weeks. Should have paid me my salary. Dude. Edit. For everyone asking. No, the owner, boss, was not trying to give a baby bonus. He was hoping to pay me less. I was there. Also, my statements about GPA speak in general terms of what students in similar situations will experience on average, not individual paths. I'll leave it at that. I stand by what I said. Thankfully, GPA drops off immediately after the first job. It's a great way to redeem a lackluster college effort if you put in the work. Thanks to everyone for the awards and comments. Very interesting to read everyone's experiences. As an engineering manager, this makes me really happy. I have never had to request GPA for entry-level positions. I don't hold a lot of value in it. I have seen technicians with no degree who are some of the best engineers. Not by title. And I've seen top graduates come in and fail miserably. There are so many more important things to concern yourself with than GPA. As a hiring manager. Edit. I will say I haven't worked for Google or Apple etc. But for Fortune 500 companies that have competitive positions anyway.
People quit bosses, not jobs.
My husband has an engineering degree. He is a programmer now. His first real job was for a small company like this. He gave his all and they were having money troubles. But my husband is loyal as hell and would have stuck it out. Luckily, the guy above him, there were only like 6 people, made sure when the company couldn't pay that my husband got laid off. At the time it seemed like the end of the world. 13 years later, I could kiss that man. He knew my husband would stay and die there. This allowed my husband to move to a better paying, more stable job. We were able to get married and have a great life. He knew what he was doing, too. I work in an office and filled out a timesheet. There was complaining from some of the newer staff that they had to clock in and I didn't. Fine. I started clocking in and out the moment I arrive and the moment I leave. Guess who has overtime now? Yup. This kid. I wrote a straight 40 hours down before. But now I see I actually work closer to 50 a week. And they get to pay me for every single one of them. Glad they got bitchy about it. I've made way more money this year over last. I wonder if he understood about your first child. He switched you to that inventory to give you a pay bump, as his way of helping with upcoming parental duties, knowing what could happen when you cranked those parts out. Or he's not a nice guy and just read the situation very wrong? I really wish our GPAs were given to reflect how we did on our actual degree, not including the stuff that has to get pushed to the side when suddenly you have 35 hours worth of work to do each night. In mechanical engineering courses I had a 3.4 GPA when they added in the chemistry, lit, and English courses it dropped to like 2.8. Fucked me out of good jobs. But nicely done with the piece-wise pay. What do you mean grades matter? In my entire engineering class, all of us got jobs and none of us needed our grades for anything. As far as I can tell, grades matter in fields where the jobs are few. Isn't this a win-win? You get paid more. He gets the parts in inventory. Don't see the downside here. Side note to you prospective engineers. An engineering degree is among the few where grades in college do matter and significantly affect your prospects for your first job. I chose to not focus entirely on my studies and paid the price with this shitty job for 3 years. Side note to your side note, in those 3 years, you probably learned 10x what the smart kids learned at their fancy jobs. That kid with the 4.0 who went to GE to work on jet engines. He spent the next 3 years designing cowlings for jet engines. That kid who with the 3.9 who went to GM. She spent the next 2 years designing trunk latches for the Chevy Cruze. Until they decided she was competent enough to move up to designing belt tensioners for the 2-liter 4 cylinders. The smart kid with the 3.85 who went to Exxon. He spent the next 3 years poring over P&IDs and writing SOPs for benzene processors. That smart kid with the 3.8 GPA who went to Intel. She spent the next 3 years as a quality engineer on the fab line, analyzing doping defects in 8-inch silicon wafers. But you, my friend, you learned everything there is to know about running your own shop. Once you get your PE license, you can hang your own shingle and start your own company that puts your old employer out of business. Or you can find a better shop or even a plucky startup and become the director of engineering, while all those smart kids are still climbing the ladder as engineers. Grade 3 at Jumbo Corp. Yes. If they want to pay you based on how many widgets you make, then you do nothing but make widgets. If he wanted something else, he really should have thought about what he was asking. Does a little part of you think he maybe did it on purpose? He couldn't give your salary a boost, but could financially justify paying you per part, knowing you could produce a shit ton of M? That's what I'd have done as a MGR myself, if ever in the same situation. Maybe that was his way of giving you a bit extra for the new kid, but leaving it all above board for legal reasons. I don't know how he said it, but it seems like that's what he wanted you to do. I like malicious compliance stories where op makes more money. Good on you for your initiative with extra duties, by the way. Make sure you write that down on your resume. Only way to get paid for it. Grades matter, but my employer actively stopped hiring top-end mechanical engineers because while book smart, they always liked people skills and couldn't actually take something apart and put it together. On your side note point, grades matter to a point. I only had a 3.0 and landed a fantastic job right out of college. I was told that I was chosen because they wanted someone who was more personable than their higher GPA candidates. That being said, if you're out there and able to get a 4.0 and build people skills, good on you. I am a machinist and would love to get paid per part rather than salary. I can really crank out some pieces when I want to. A job the shop was doing when I joined on was 20 minutes a piece. And a lot of scrap. I do them in 6 minutes a piece, but being able to run both ops at the same time makes it essentially 3 to 4 minutes a piece. That job makes $300 per hour now and a typical order runs for 2 days. But normally you'll find me taking my time trying new things, reprogramming the same part for the 5th time because I want to try something different. Set stupid metrics, get stupid results. Another engineer here. I never work for small companies again after dealing with BS like this. Like op. I gained a lot from the small company job in the beginning of my career wearing multiple hats, but I hated how much power the owner had and how things could change overnight with the owner's mood. It's the worst when you work for a super stingy owner that gets really upset over a couple dollars. For all the would-be engineers in this thread, if you're consulting on a project, please remember that not everything needs to be applied as per spec in the contract documents. There's some really asinine stuff in those documents that make no difference one way or the other to the project, and if you give contractors and constructors a hard time over asinine things, it's going to make your career a lot harder. Remember, it's important the job gets done right. Don't skip on matters of safety, etc. But nobody really cares if the operations and maintenance manuals aren't to exact spec. They'll be thrown into a corner and forgot about until 30 years down the road someone finds the crusty, decrepit remains of a manual that not once has been referenced. I'm surprised to hear that grades matter for engineers. I know a friend who was a C student from Purdue. Still got hired by GM.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.